Hi, this is Jane with GreenBiz. It is a beautiful morning here at GreenBiz, and we're going to talk today about shade plants and how to take care of them in your yard. Now, a lot of customers probably come in and say, oh, we have nothing but sun. But there are still those customers, you probably who is listening to this, who is saying, no, I need to know about shade plants. What can I plant in the shade here in North Carolina? Does such a thing exist? Yes, it does. We're going to talk about some of those today. We're going to talk a little bit about what is shade and how much shade, well, equates to full shade, part shade. If you have 2 or less hours of sun, that would be considered full shade. If you have 2 to 4 hours, that still is quite a bit of shade. Morning sun is okay there. You can do, say, like 4 hours of morning sun and you can still have a full shade plant. Anything 6 to 8 hours, that's considered full sun. And so even if it's morning or afternoon, but especially if it's afternoon sun, you can't do a shade plant where you're going to get 6 to 8 hours of full afternoon sun. That just won't work. The shade plants that we're talking about today can handle some morning sun. And in fact, where they are placed over in the garden center, over at Greenside Up, those plants get some morning sun. They even get a little filtered afternoon sun, but they do not stand in the full afternoon sun. So you just have to kind of think. A lot of times, if you go over to the garden center, people over there will say, well, how much sun do you get? So you actually need to know how much sun you get. Go outside. At 8 o'clock, is it sunny? At 10 o'clock, is it sunny? Go through your day every couple hours. How much sun are you getting in an area? Because that will determine what kind of plants you can plant in that area. All right, let's go see what the plants are. We're going to talk about the shade-loving plants that you could do in your landscape. Down here in North Carolina, I have found that people really like plants that keep their leaves through the winter. Mind you, up north it doesn't really matter because it's all covered with snow. So, there are hydrangeas which love the shade. They lose their leaves in the winter. We're not talking about them today. I'm going to start by talking about a twilight nandina. Now the twilight nandina is a plant that can handle full to part shade, probably more part shade. This nandina, as you can see, it comes with variegated leaves, just like your other nandinas. But because of the variegation, there's so much more white in the leaves, it cannot handle the full afternoon sun. So this is a great plant that you can put in a shaded area. The plant gets about, say 3 feet tall, wide. It grows just like a regular nandina that likes the sun, but it likes the shade. So the twilight nandina is a beautiful addition to a dark garden. It has that light color to it, and it would kind of just brighten up that corner. I have 2 shade plants here with me, the family of Mahonia. This one is called the leatherleaf. The leatherleaf has pokey edges. It will get, up to maybe 6 foot. The one over on this side is called the narihara. It will get about 3 to 4 feet. It has a cousin who's called the softcress, and it gets, maybe only like 2 to 3 feet. The beautiful thing about these is that they get this yellow flower late in the fall into the winter, and then they will get red berries on them. And so they give you some, different colors in your garden, not only through the summer when they're green, but into the fall and winter. They can handle the full shade, they can handle the part shade. They're a great plant to have in your shade landscape. In my arms here I have an akuba. This is actually what it's called, the gold dust akuba. Akubas come in some different variegations, but they all are going to have kind of your green and gold colors to them. This particular one, the gold dust, can get quite large. It can get 6 feet or over, but a lot of your shade plants are a little bit slower growing, so don't expect it's going to do that like tomorrow. The gold dust akuba, once again, it will add that light color to a dark area. So if you have a shaded area that you need something that's going to give you a little lighter color, and you need something that's going to give you a little height, A Golden Tacuba would be an excellent choice. A plant down here that does excellent in the shade are azaleas. Now, I know that a lot of you have grown up down here in the south, you've seen azaleas all your life, and you think they're boring. I come from the north. We couldn't grow azaleas up north. And it really wasn't until I came south and I went, oh wow, what are these beautiful bushes? That I really was able to appreciate the azaleas that grow around here. So, don't say, oh, I'm not going to do azaleas because we've always had them. And don't say, oh, I'm not going to do azaleas because they're just blooming in the spring and then I never see any flowers. So azaleas do very well in a shaded area. There are some azaleas that can do better in the sun, but we're not going to talk about those right now. But they are possible. Anyway, so azaleas come, you're a little bit shorter ones. There are some azaleas that only get like 2 or 3 feet tall. There are some azaleas that get, well, quite large. We all know about those. Some azaleas have very small leaves, some have larger leaves. It depends on the variety. There are some azaleas that will bloom both in the spring and in the fall. So if you're, concerned that you're not going to have any color except green, make sure you get an azalea that has a double bloom time on it. Azaleas are great in the shade. They do well down in our environment. They do well in our soil. They're just part of the South. And should you have an azalea in your yard? Yeah, you should. They're beautiful. Another delightful addition to a shade garden would be a variegated pittosporum. They can get anywhere from, say, 4 to 6 feet tall. They are a slower grower again because of the variegation. They're going to add that little light touch to a dark garden. They can have some issues if it gets very cold, but you just throw a blanket over them for those couple cold nights, no problems. And a lot of plants, by the way, if they have issues with the cold, if you plant them closer to a building or to your house, you have the ambient heat and you really don't have any issues with the cold. And remember, we live down south and it doesn't really get cold here like Minnesota. A variegated pittosporum is a great addition to your shade landscape. The last plant we're going to talk about today is the Japanese maple. People around here love the Japanese maples, and they are beautiful in your yard. Now, Japanese maples, for the most part, need to be in either morning sun, filtered sun through the afternoon, or shade. This lace leaf beauty is a Tamikiamo. This one will get, it can get up to probably 8 to 10 feet. And most Japanese maples are very slow growing. So it's, again, not going to get huge in your yard overnight. People love them for their lacy look. They also come, there's different varieties that come with a green lace leaf. Just like other maple trees, they will lose their leaves in the winter, and then they will regain them in the spring. If you have an area, a larger area, you want a small tree in that area, and it is in the shade, a Japanese maple is a very good choice. I hope that you have learned something with this video about what types of plants you can put in a shade landscape. If you have questions or comments, please leave them at the bottom of the video. This is Jane with GreenBiz, wishing you a very happy day.